Afternoon there, ladies and germs. So after doing a full set of tires on the car trailer and then just recently replacing the trailers, my RV trailer tires manually with nothing more than two 20-inch tire levers, not even this thing. Now that those are done, I've decided to go down the road of the old Harbor Freight Pittsburgh manual tire changer. As many of you know, these things can be kind of tedious to use in their stock form. They can work, especially on steel wheels where you don't really care about the beads of the rim getting all tore up. Did a lot of research figuring out what mod I wanted to do to it, and when it really came right down to it, I decided to go with the ultimate manual tire changer attachment from Lucid Autowerks. The owner, really cool guy. I think he busts his butt to get these kits kicked out. I opted for the DIY version, which, as you can see, is not welded up. That's why that's sitting out. And so what this does is it puts a duck head. This is a duck head onto the tube that holds the wheel to the base. So this is going to be out here doing its thing. This is what's on an actual tire machine. If you go down to your discount tires, your Les Schwab's, or wherever your favorite place is, hell, it could even be Sears, the trusted name in automotive. So yeah, this is the DIY kit. We got to get this welded up. This gets welded like that, and then we got to put this guy together. Not too bad. I want to get these two pieces welded up so I can get them painted and baking out in the sun, and we'll go from there. And then after that, I'm going to show some of the modifications that I'm going to do to the base to make it a little bit more user-friendly. So let's get into it. The instructions are good. They're not super clear. The pictures are pretty fuzzy, but I'm pretty sure that we can muddle through it and get it figured out. Leave a 3/8 gap between the overarm and the end of the tube. So right there. Blown up. Got some T56 throwout bearing shims that I'm going to use to set our 3/8 gap up. Professional welder I am not, but that's not going to fall off of her. The grinder makes the welder you ain't. Alright, let's get the duck head arm welded up and painted. Literally just center the tube onto the plate, perfectly centered. That's coming off of there. Okay, I'm gonna go paint this real quick, and then we'll be back. All right, our next task is to weld our adjuster nuts. So we've got to weld a nut to this square piece of tube, and then we've got to weld a nut to this guy. You got to do your best not to get welding spatter in the threads. A little bit of extra spatter. She's good though. So now I'm going to weld the T-handle onto this with it ran all the way down to protect the threads. This is our T-handle. She moves. Okay, I'm going to clean that up and paint it. We'll move on to the arm clamp bracket. Well, if there's one thing I can always say about this channel, anybody that's ever watched it for a while, when I screw something up, I usually show what I screwed up. Okay, this is the piece that makes the magic happen, besides the duck head. Get out of this glare. So I got the nut welded in on this tube right here, and I was so excited that it all worked and I didn't bung the threads up with welding slag. I took it out to paint it. Got this tube completely painted, the adjuster bolt completely painted, and then I came back inside to build this piece. And I'm like, wait a second, you dumbass. This tube is the backbone for these pieces. So I had to wipe all the paint off. Not the end of the world. So this goes together by putting this on a flat surface, clamp the two plates to the tube, nut facing out, and you're going to line it up by using these little notches in these plates with the very edge of the tube, if that makes sense. And I don't think it has to be 100% down to the micron precise, but get it as close as you can so that way your duck head arm is vertical. And then I think I'm going to weld mine up slightly different than the way he does in the instructions. I think I'm just going to do like 3/4 of an inch in all the corners. And then this piece, this guy right here, he's going to go in. You got to tip it in there. And it's still a little bit hot. Okay, that goes in right there. And then we're going to put a weld bead right across there. So that's where we're at. We're ready to tack this thing together and just fully weld it. Okay, she's fully welded up. Probably can't see very much of it, but we'll give her a good wire brushing and then bury it in paint. It is update time. So I got the kit completed in all the welding aspects. So now we are to the point where this is what it would be like if you ordered his non-DIY kit. So you have to weld this up, to weld the duck head plate on, and then you got to build this guy. Instructions are pretty simple. This is off the Harbor Freight changer, known as the post cap. Our first step is to put slide the collar on the end of the post cap and put it on a flat table, and then we're going to torque this up evenly. I believe these are 1/4 inch. Now we're going to grab a bearing. This would be the race. Fits flat. Where I come from, this is known as a Torrington bearing. I'm going to put just a little bit of oil on that. I wouldn't make it dripping wet because all it's going to do is probably collect dirt. I think that's some leftover 40 weight diesel oil from breaking in the motor in the V8 Ranger. Okay, now we're to the point where we're going to take these here bronze bushings and we're going to press them into this tube. Went in by hand. Thought I was going to have to plastic hammer that guy. This end may be a little bit distorted from welding. There she goes. I wouldn't hit this with a metal hammer. Okay, I think I'm going to switch over to doing this on the tire machine. There she goes. She's a little bit tight. There's a bit of a seam right here at the top of the cap. That runs real nice. Okay, another bearing. Brace. Bearing. Oil. Trying not to make a mess. And I'm making a mess. Brace. Clamp. I think I'm going to have to possibly take this one in two to get it to go past that seam. Nope. So I just want to push down on the clamp a little bit to make sure that there's no slop in here, but you don't want to bind it up either. First day running an Allen wrench, holy crap. And obviously I don't have the machine bolted down right now. That runs real nice. Okay, I'm going to see if I want to see next if I'm going to have to sand this bore out. I really don't know. Oh, I think she's good. Obviously this paint finish is going to get marred up a bit. That's just the nature of the way this machine is going to work. Very impressed with the quality of this kit. This will only go on one way. so it matches the foot. So that's going to go like that. Hardware. I did kind of a crappy job on my paint, but then there was a split second where I thought about wiping it off and starting over. But then I'm like, this thing's just, it's gonna get beat up a little bit when you're actually doing tires, so no point in making it all perfect. You're just trying to keep it from getting all rusty. Okay, let me grab some wrenches and get this tightened up. Alright, so it's looking like a 1/2 inch socket and a 3/16 Allen wrench for this guy. Alright, calling that good. There's a plastic cap for the end of the pipe. Probably should have put that in first before I put the duck head on, but that's okay. We'll just tap it on the floor. Done. Extra done. So that's pretty much it as far as assembly. Very easy. I think we're ready to bolt this guy down on the floor and give it a test run. I already drilled the floor, and I used the common red head drop-in anchors that you can get at Lowe's or Home Depot. I highly recommend that when you're not using the machine, if you're going to store it somewhere else, get some short bolts and plug the holes. Inevitably, even just parking a car in here, over time you're going to get dirt and water, and it's going to make a mess of those drop-in inserts. So plug them off. Then when you're going to go put the machine in, you just have to take those out and put your long bolts in. All right, we did a little test run. It's the spare Ranger wheels that I have for destroying tires. First thing I found out was the cone that Lucid sends you doesn't seem to work very well with Steelies, because the cone hits the plate before it can clamp the wheel down. So in this particular case, I just used the revised Harbor Freight one, and it works just fine as long as you center the wheel up. This thing is kind of hokey. It's a pain in the ass to get the tire dropped down over it and get it started and all that stuff. I definitely want to do some kind of a modification to the bead breaker arm so that like it can stay up here when you're moving the tire around, but yet it's got to be down here when you're working with the tire up there. So that's something that we'll play around with a little bit. But let's set the camera aside and run through this.
Where's your TP in that? Bounced and...
Oh, we gotta let the air out. That would be a wise choice.
You'd be sitting there for a while.
I don't even think you could get the bead to try and break with air in it. People make it sound like you're gonna explode and die. Now, if you're doing it with a commercial machine, yeah, that's gonna be a problem trigger. I got one at work that we don't use anymore. I'll bring it home. Screwdriver handle one. I was experimenting with a bungee cord to try and make the bead breaker arm do what I wanted to with it, but I don't really like it. breaking the bead definitely seems to be the most challenging part of these small machines. Yeah. This is what I was talking about with this guy. It's got like a 1/4 inch gap in there. I'll look on Amazon and see if I can find one that's really shallow. So I use this one. Might not be perfectly centered, but we don't really care about these wheels. This guy out of the way. Okay. So let's move our valve stem. Actually, we want to be. This has band style TPMS sensors, so you want to be have your drop center open. Literally just pick this guy. Yep.
You can also buy it. Tape it.
See if this will catch with no lube. Oh, yeah. Pull the bar through the other way. There you go. So that's off of there. Now it'll be a minute before we show going back together because somebody's wasting time spraying paint on old crappy wheels. So once that paint dries, we'll put these back together. Morning, everybody. It's a new day. Our burnout wheels are freshly Rust-Oleumed. Before we put the tires back on the wheels, I wanted to go over a couple of the modifications that I did to this. Seems like a lot of people have modified the hell out of these things, which is kind of cool. Some are more important features than others. I think one of the main ones that you see a lot of people do is putting some kind of reinforcement on the bead breaker. I guess some guys have leaned on this hard enough that these just turned into a pretzel. These pieces of flat stock right here. So I've got this one boxed with a piece of 3/16 plate, and then I added these little antlers on here for holding on to our accoutrements. Doesn't seem to have interfered with the couple of different wheels that I've set on here. Got some more junk over on this side. And then another thing that I did that's completely unnecessary was I welded a nut on the top of the cap so that if you want, you can just use a simple 3/4 inch wrench to snug your wheel down tight instead of having to use the big tire lever that comes with the machine. You can also use just your standard tire lever to tighten down the cap, which works just fine as well. One of the things that I didn't go over when we took the tires off of these wheels yesterday, you'll notice that the weights are still on there. Normally, if you were changing tires, you would just strip the weights off, but I left the weights on these wheels because I'm putting the tires back on where they were. We literally just took those tires off for demonstration purposes and to do a quick and dirty little paint job on these wheels because they were pretty ratty looking. Got a fir needle stuck in the paint. So, with that being said, that's everything that we've done to this thing so far. Let's go ahead and get this bolted back to the floor real quick, and then put the duck head arm back on there, and we'll go over jamming a tire back on there. Like I said yesterday, these are the standard redhead in concrete inserts, drop-in inserts. That style of tire right there, probably, you know, your more common sidewall height tire, super easy to put on. You could put those on with a standard tire lever, maybe even quicker than using the machine, but still gives you a good idea how the machine works. Ultimately, I want to try something like this, which is a 35 series tire, and see how difficult that would be. I'm also going to do a 33-inch BF Goodrich mud terrain that I'll show in another video to see what that will be like using this machine. Alright, enough rambling. Y'all should post up down in the comments below if you can mention if you noticed the mistake that I made yesterday when we were taking the tire off. And it still worked just fine. These don't need to be gorilla tight. Just needs to keep it from wobbling around. With these band style TPMS sensors that I'm not even using right now, but I'm just going to leave it on there because the tire's balanced to that. You want this to be away from the side that you are going to start the tire on, so that the other opposing side of the bead can get down into the drop center. Alright, when you're using this guy, when you're using this duck head, it always goes counterclockwise. When you're taking the tire off, you're using the duckbill portion. When you're putting a tire on, you're using this portion of the duck head right here. So the bead's going to come over the top of this and under this one. The rubber on these tires is almost 10 years old. It's super hard. I'd probably just absolutely fry these tires in the Ranger. Alright, so we're going to soak this tire up real good. Most tires of this kind of design and build, you can get the first bead on easily without using the duck head. And we're going to line our valve stem up roughly. Okay, we want that to look like that. she'll go. That would have been even easier if I would have remembered to soap that outer bead, but this tire is flimsy enough that it's not a concern. If you have a tire that is not wanting to start the bead to seat, before you do any of the real fancy tricks, always just take and push down on the tire and then pick back up on it. All right, we're gonna run through this one more time now that the professional's on site and see if we can do this in record time-ish. TPMS sensor over there. Definitely takes a little longer to set up to make sure it's somewhat centered without a proper cone for these steel wheels. One little drag, that should be fine.
Yeah, you don't need to do that. Not necessary.
Okay, you ready? We gotta find our number 2. Goes with the valve stem right there. See, I knew the expert would guide me right in there. No bar. Almost there. Of course, snarled on the wheel weight. Past the wheel weight. That's it. So these tires are so flimsy, we didn't even have to use the long bar. And with 2 people, you don't really have to use this guy on a tire like this. Beat tried seating on us already. On the vise. Yeah, like I said, I'll bring that. I have an actual snap-on one at work that we don't use anymore. Sitting at the top of my toolbox. Generally speaking, you get the tire filled quicker with the core out of it, but then you just got to make sure that you don't shoot your valve core across the shop. Well, that went straight to 37 psi. So I think that's pretty much it for this video. My initial review, first impressions of this, and even the Harbor Freight portion of it, are excellent. I'd say 5 stars for this guy. The Pittsburgh machine, maybe 3 stars out of the box. I absolutely hate this thing already, so I may see if I can. The Lucid website, he has a bolt pattern template that you can get, and you can drill multiple bolt patterns. You only need 1 per bolt pattern, but obviously your spacing away from center is going to be different. And then you can get rid of this thing and then literally just drop a special bolt down through there to keep your anti-rotation. But beyond that, I highly recommend. I think this has got a lot of potential. And like I said, I'm looking forward to doing some more challenging stuff like any of these other cars that we have. And then beyond that, it'll just be a matter of figuring out what we're going to do for balancing. Got a lot of options there. I could even see buying an inexpensive electronic spin balancer. So yeah, like I said, I'll probably do another video of doing a low profile tire, and then a video of doing an off-road tire. And I think that'll be fun to try. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, ideas, ways to do this better, I'm always ready to learn, and I don't get, all bent out of shape because somebody says, "Oh, you did something wrong" or whatever. It's all good. Thanks for checking it out, and we'll see you on the next one. Oh, and thanks for Lucid for getting this out really quick. He got this out probably in less than a week. But beyond that, we'll see you on the next one.